This week marked the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Dr. King had been called to Memphis, Tennessee, to support a sanitation workers' strike prior to a scheduled trip to Washington, D.C. to lobby Congress on behalf of the poor. On the evening of April 3rd, less than 24 hours after delivering his famous mountaintop speech, Dr. King was standing on the balcony of the Lorraine Hotel, and a bullet took his life. One bullet, one shot. A shot that was felt around the world. Well, it's 50 years later, and are we still feeling it? Or, as a nation, have we become too fractured and too numb to violence to even care? Is one bullet, one life enough? What about 17? What about 51? That's the number of students and educators who have been killed in 33 California shootings in the past 40 years. What about 1,300? The number of children who are killed by guns every year. And this fact is just astounding to me. 182,000. That's the number of students attending K-12 schools who have experienced a shooting on campus since the Columbine High School massacre in 1999. And that doesn't include the educators and the parents and community who also experienced the emotional shrapnel that was left behind by these acts of violence. While one bullet took Dr. King from our world, it did not end his fight for justice for all. And today, 50 years later, gun violence and the need to end it, and for all that he has given rise to a new movement, a powerful movement, begun by even younger people than those who started the sit-ins across the South in the 1960s. A movement that's not relying on their parents to be their voice. A movement that's led by high school and middle school and even elementary school students. After too many years, far too many school shootings, too many deaths, and the same pattern of outrage followed by thoughts and prayers and then inaction from lawmakers, the February massacre of the Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, was different. This time, thoughts and prayers weren't enough. This time, the victims were high school students and educators. And this time, the students were old enough and angry enough to organize and do something about it. I have to say, these young people, they're incredible. Within days of the devastation and trauma of the attack, they had organized a descent upon their state capital in Florida to push lawmakers to do something in a state where 18-year-olds could legally buy an assault rifle. The gun violence survivors of Stoneman Douglas High started the Never Again movement, and within a week of the shooting, had begun plans for the March 24th March of Our Lives to End Gun Violence. That Saturday, hundreds of thousands of supporters descended on Washington, D.C. Marches were held in more than 800 cities in the United States and around the globe. And I know many of you participated in your communities. And if you saw anything of the coverage of the D.C. rally, you know that it was diverse and it was inclusive. Representatives of the Women's March and Black Lives Matter joined in. These students demonstrated diversity, inclusivity, and checked their own privilege in a way that was nothing but inspiring. For 1 month, in 1 month, a group of concerned and fed-up students organized and pulled off the largest rally ever held in our nation's capital. Just think about that, how quickly it all happened. Of course, technology and social media played a large role in reaching the masses, but that's the world we live in. A moment can literally launch and take hold of a nation overnight. And I'm so proud of these students and the students in California who are leading the charge in our state. We spent years educating them, but we can and we should learn from them as well. They are organizing with tools that reach activists immediately, building an online community that is showing up for support in cities throughout the country. We're witnessing the birth not only of a movement, but what also I'm hoping is the start of a long overdue revolution to break the stranglehold of the gun lobby that it has on our lawmakers for years. Now, no one is saying get rid of all guns or eliminate the right to own one, but it's time we protect our kids, not guns. And that's why on April the 20th, I'm asking you to join millions of students, our colleagues, and voters from all over the U.S. in calling for common sense gun laws to keep our students, schools, colleges, and communities safe. So educators can focus on nurturing, mentoring, and inspiring students rather than practice live shooter drills and protecting them from gun violence. It's time for lawmakers to listen to the voices of students and educators. On April 20th, the 19th anniversary of the Columbine shooting, CTA members and chapters will continue to push by joining NEA and the Network for Public Education and other groups on the National Day of Action Against Gun Violence in Schools. Actions on that day can take different forms. Some schools will do a walk-in with staff and students and community members marching in together to the school to show a united front against gun violence. Others will be contacting lawmakers. Some will have school assemblies and programs. But I'm asking everyone in this room to work with your chapters, with your schools and your communities to please plan an event. And we're also asking everyone to wear orange on that day, the color of gun violence prevention. We have a number of online resources to raise awareness on gun violence prevention and to help members and locals get ready, including a toolkit with posters and fact sheets, an event locator, and background materials, all available at cta.org/knowmore. You can also pick them up this afternoon at the communications table outside. We have an effective way, an easy way for members to create and post videos saying what they'd rather be armed with rather than guns in their classroom. Record and send your story at cta.org/armmewith. Our students need more books, art and music programs, smaller class sizes, nurses and school counselors. They do not need more guns in their classroom. We owe it to our students and to our brothers and sisters who've lost their lives at schools and campuses across the country to demand a plan that will keep dangerous weapons out of the hands of dangerous people. The students around the country are saying no more. Educators are saying no more. We, CTA, are saying no more. I urge each of you to make that public stand on April 20th and until the problem is solved, because the movement won't end on that day. As Cesar Chavez said, once social change begins, it cannot be reversed. You cannot uneducate the person who has learned to read. You cannot humiliate the person who has learned pride. You cannot oppress people who are not afraid anymore. The Parkland kids are educated. They aren't afraid, and they're not turning back, and neither are we.